Have those been announced?
No, they have not. No. Yeah.
Can you say anything about them?
I can say whatever I want. I actually don't know if I'm allowed to, but...
Ask for forgiveness later?
Yeah, exactly.
Hi and welcome to Literary Hype. I'm Stephanie, your Literary Hype woman, and today's author conversation comes from Emerald City Comic Con, where Kristin Dwyer and I were panelists together, and we had a grand old time getting to know each other and talking about her book, The Atlas of Us. This is a very emotional journey, but we also had a lot to say outside of this book. We had a lot to say about K-pop, as is to be expected. If you follow either of us, you know we both love K-pop. So there had to be a conversation. But also there's a lot of really deep emotional parts in this that we had to address. So this is a variety of emotions that are coming for you in this conversation with Kristin Dwyer. Welcome to Emerald City Comic Con. This is so much fun to have you here as a panelist.
Oh my God.
And to get to talk to you about your latest book, The Atlas of Us.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Although I'm going to pick this bone in our Books to Buddies panel.
Okay.
None of you warned me that you and Naz and Anna all had Dead Dad books, and I read them all in a row.
Oh, Lord. You know what? I'm really sorry about that, and I keep telling people don't read my book. Like, just don't read it.
I wouldn't go that far.
Because don't read it.
A great book. It's just very emotional. So for anyone who hasn't seen this on social media yet, tell us what it's about.
The Atlas of Us is about a girl who her dad dies, obviously, and she's kind of in a rough spot, and she's labeled as like a bad kid, and so she decides to finish this list that her dad left her, and one of the things on the list is to hike this trail. And so she ends up on this hiking trail with like 4 other kids who are all kind of in a bad way as well. And it's really about healing and falling in love and trusting people. So a lot of found family. I love a found family trope, you know, that kind of thing.
There's a lot of your personal story in this, according to your acknowledgments.
Yeah.
What made you decide to draw upon your own experience in this kind of really raw, emotional way and put it on a page for everyone else?
Yeah, I love trauma. I don't know. This was a really hard book for me to write. You write your first book and you're like, oh my God, I'm like excellent at this. I'm so good. Everyone else doesn't even know how excellent a writer I am. Just give me all the awards now. And then you go to write your second book and you're like, I don't know word time. Nothing. Word time. So bad. It's so bad. With this book, I was just like, what do I feel like I can put on a page and be proud of and connect with? And this story about this girl who lost her dad was what really resonated with me. And I just felt like the story kind of flew from there. And I was like, dang it, this is a love story. And I just kept going back to her like anger and her grief.
Why is it important to you to show grief in a variety of different forms for teenage readers?
I think for me, when I lost my dad, I was waiting for the end of my grief, right? I was waiting for this place where you come to the end of grief and you're like, it's over, you know? And my dad's been gone almost 20 years and I'm still real pissed about it. Like, you know, sometimes I will be like, why aren't you here? You know, and so for me, I really wanted to write a book where there was no end of grief, right? There was just this idea that you now are this new person that lives inside of this pain, you know, and this loss of a person. And I also really connected with Atlas because when you lose somebody, it's really hard to trust people and to let people into your pain. And that was really important for me to put on the page. Like, what does it look like when when you have to trust people, when you have to like let people love you? And
So your characters in this story go by nicknames while they're on this hiking trail.
Yeah.
How much fun was it to create and pick these nicknames for these people along the way?
So much harder than you would think. So much harder because some of them were like thinly veiled references to K-pop. And
that was going to be my next question.
And I was like, they all can't have K-pop nicknames. And so there's only 2 in there now because I had to like cut it way back.
So confirmed that sugar is Suga.
Suga, yeah, obviously. And in fact, like in one of the very early drafts that actually didn't make it in, one of the things about it was like how they all got their nicknames. And he actually saw a card of Yoongi on the back of her phone and was like, what's that? And she's like, Suga. And he's like, sugar? Why do you have sugar on the back of your phone? Why is that man named Sugar? And like, you know what people do. So like it was, and then I ended up cutting that scene. So yeah, that's why.
I need that scene released.
Okay, all right.
I'll for my personal entertainment.
I'll send it just to you. Yeah, and then there's one of the people on the trails named Key, and he's my bias and shiny. So I was like,
I'm a Mino girl.
Oh, well, you know, he's a good one. He likes to take his shirt off a lot.
Oops.
Yeah.
I mean, and then there's Tabid. Tabid is just excellent.
He's a perfect little maknae. We love him.
I love him so much. So we're already at K-pop. Like, I knew this wasn't going to take us long to get to K-pop.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's fine. This is what we do. I love K-pop. We'll get back to the K-pop. Now I got to remember what else was on here because I'm very excited. I am very excited about Suga.
My locket.
She's got Jungkook and V in a locket.
Yeah. Yeah. So my friend Stephanie Garber got me this locket for my birthday, and she's like, "You can put everything. You can put your kids in there, or your husband." And I was like, "I will put the thing I love the most."
I love this so much. My sister's a Jungkook stan, so she would appreciate this so much. Any of the troublemakers, that's her bias.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The maknae line is pretty bad. I'm biased fluid, so I'm typically a Jin girl, but like right now I'm having a real hard time with Jungkook, so like it's rough.
I mean, 7.
Yeah.
How could you ignore that?
That was hard. And then the last song is Shot Glass Full of Tears, and I'm going to tell you my completely unhinged. I can't even believe this.
Yes.
I happened to be with a bunch of my friends, and we were all listening to the whole album together, like, you know, being as like ridiculous as possible. And that song comes on, and it's like the line 42 in her body, and I was 42 years old, and I was like, he's singing about me. And my friends were like, "You look unwell right now. Your eyes are this big, and you're like conspiracy theory." I'm like Charlie with like the red string everywhere. I'm like, "This is about me." We're like, "You're a lunatic." And I still stand that song is about me and that he is stalking me. Prove me wrong. You can't.
You know, you can't.
You really can't.
Can't prove you're right either.
No, you can't, but that's not part of the equation that we're talking about. Okay?
Exactly.
We are focusing on me.
So since we keep coming back to K-pop, how does the K-pop community compare with the writing community in your experience? And how do they overlap?
I think there's a ton of overlap in the K-pop and writing communities, and I think that it's funny because the writing community is bookish, and like we find fandoms and we're like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with like the Sarah J Maas books, and I love Rebecca Ross's series, and all I want to do is talk about Roman and Iris, and it's this really beautiful thing, but it is also we're also looking for the next thing all the time, right? And in K-pop, like you find your boys or your girls, and then you're done, right? You're like, and you can love other people, but these are the ones that you would die for, right? And then there's this camaraderie in K-pop that I actually don't see anywhere else really, where when I tell people that I am a K-pop stan, they immediately buy my book. They don't care what it's about, they're like, we just want to support you. And I mean, K-pop, we buy whales, we build roads.
We bought the hand sanitizer covers because they were astronauts.
Yeah.
And we put Jin's little character RJ in them.
Yes. I mean, there is a philanthropic, level to K-pop that I just don't see other places as well. And, the instant connection and community where you talk about this thing that you love, and it doesn't ever shift, right? We all there's very little that I can imagine my 7 babies ever doing that would make me not love them. I mean, they would really have to kill my dog. I mean, even if they kill my kids. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like, no.
Not the kids.
No, just kidding.
But the dog, that's the line.
Kidding.
The dog is the line.
I love my dog. I don't know. I love it. I think that K-pop is really my home. Writing is really my art. And I love when those two things blend together. Like when people write K-pop books, I'm always like, yes.
Sign me.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll read anything Susan Lee writes. I'll read anything Axio writes. I'll read anything Stephen Lee writes. Like Kat, anybody. I'm like, I will read all of your books. Yeah, so
100% on that team. Yeah. What K-pop would you recommend to someone who's trying to dip their toe into it?
Well, if you had not ever done any K-pop, I would always suggest BTS's English language everything, right? You could listen to all of Golden by Jungkook and get a really good sense of what kind of music they really are, because he is such an amalgamation of everybody. And then you can listen to Dynamite and Butter and Permission to Dance and kind of see them. And But you really, if you're going to be like, oh, where do I start? Music videos. Start with the music videos. That's like the most important.
And they're fun to watch.
Yes, and when the dance practices, and you're like watching them, and it's just like...
Okay, can we talk about the Run BTS dance practice?
I can't.
And Yoongi coming out with that man bun?
Can't talk about Yoongi's hair. Can't talk about it because his birthday's coming up, and he's trying to hurt me. And the other day somebody was like, I was like, well, it's because he's a Pisces. And they're like, do you know all of their astrological signs? And I was like, yes. Why would I not?
Who doesn't know when their birthdays are?
Psycho.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything is fine.
Anyway, back to the book.
Yeah. Books. Right.
So you had this really great line. Mm-hmm. Laughing is for people who feel like they have most of the pieces of themselves. Mm-hmm. Talk about crafting that line, because was that one that just flew out of you, or is that one you really sat and thought with?
I don't actually think about a lot of my lines, and that's a really crappy thing to say, but I just felt like in that moment that was what resonated with me. Like, I felt like when you're angry or you're broken or you're sad, or like there are all of these really intense emotions that especially young people feel, and girls, we're always told that, we're too something, we're too emotional, we're too whatever, and you feel all these things and you don't feel like laughing, and you see somebody and it's like this freedom that someone else has that you're like, I don't feel like I can do that. I don't feel like I can do that. So that's really where that line came from.
I love it. Or, I wonder if boys in anime shirts like scars. There's so many nerdy references.
Yeah.
How much fun was it to put all these anime references?
So much fun. My kids, I'm not allowed to tell people, but they're like super into anime, and like it's something that we like do as a family. And when I actually married my husband, he was like, "We're not getting married until you have seen, like, at that point, the entire Miyazaki canon. Like, I can't marry somebody who doesn't know the glory of Howl's Moving Castle." And so those were my kids, like, Disney movies. They weren't watching like Tangled or Frozen. They were watching Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away, and Princess Mononoke is wild for children. Like, just FYI, maybe not the best.
So do anime boys like scars?
Obviously, he absolutely does.
In this story, Atlas, who becomes Maps, she goes on this like hike to kind of rehabilitate herself. Is this an actual program?
Yeah, it is in California. Well, I mean, it was. I don't know if it still is, but in California, there's this thing called Work Project, and if you get into trouble, you can do Work Project as a youth. Yeah, so it's basically like you don't go to juvenile hall, you're working off all of your community service hours. And at the time it was for kids that had a lot of community service hours. So I personally got like 500 community service hours that I had to work off, and it was very difficult. And I did not do the overnight version of this, but I do know that exists, where you rehabilitate trails. So, and I'm not like an outdoor person, so I was like, this is not for me.
Did you do a lot of research on the program and like the places that you talk about along the hike? I
grew up in like Sacramento, and you are at Tahoe a lot, and Truckee, and all these places that I kind of based this off of. The Western Sierra Trail is not real, but it was kind of like a Pacific Crest Trail type thing. And I have hiked those kinds of trails, and I've seen what people that need to go in and like reopen trails have to do. And my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law are actually like, I used to call them professional Boy Scouts, but they would take kids from like inner cities and take them out to like the absolute wilderness where there's no light pollution. That's the first time these kids have ever seen stars, or like they teach them how to survive on their own. And so I would ask them, I'm like, what do you do for water? And they're like, bleach. And I'm like, oh, this is good. They're like, it works. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So this book is kind of heavy subject matter.
Yeah.
How do you take care of yourself when you're writing something so heavy and emotional?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I try to be really good to myself when I'm writing. I try to make sure that I'm easy with myself. I try to do less in those moments, and I try to give myself permission to go to places that are a little bit more vulnerable for me. So I give myself if I'm going to write for 3 hours in this very vulnerable state, then I'm going to have 2 hours where I binge watch something on television that makes me feel, better, or I, listen to something that I love, or watch Run BTS, something like that. So that's just kind of how I refill, because I'm a happy person. I just write really sad crap. I don't know why.
They're both valid.
Yeah.
We need both sides of the coin.
Fun though. I am so fun. I don't know.
Truly.
Yeah,
We're having a blast. I don't know about y'all, but we're having fun.
I'm a delight. I don't understand. Who writes the sad stuff?
We'll talk about the fun stuff in this book, like the popsicle hierarchy.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you decide what colors were the hierarchy?
Okay, because this is an argument that we have a lot in our house. We talk about like what the good popsicles are and what are the bad popsicles that always end up stuck at the bottom, right? Like that nobody ever eats. And my husband is a huge red fan. And I was like, nobody likes red. And he's like, everybody likes red, Kristin. And I'm like, no, purple is the best. He's like, nobody likes purple. And I'm like, so we actually looked it up and we're like, what's the most popular popsicle color, and what comes next, and like the hierarchy of them. And I just love the idea of some girl going like, is there a Wikipedia page? Like, how do you know all this? Like, what is happening here?
And making them into a code is just so much fun.
Yeah.
Of like boys trying to tell girls that they like them with popsicle colors. It's so high school.
But you know what? It's the psychosis that like we do, like as when we are. Do they like me? Oh my God, is it like, I loved it. I loved like the whole thing with like Junior being like, thanks, I love green. And then he's like, I just told that boy that I like green, and now he's going to give me green. And if he doesn't give me green, I'm going to be sad. But if he does give me green, great, now I have a green popsicle, like, I just thought that was so hilarious. My agent read it, and in like every version of this, she was like, do not remove the popsicles, Kristin. I'm like, okay, fine, popsicles stay.
It was such a fun little touch, like a little icebreaker in amongst all the trauma, the emotional trauma. How do you feel about making your readers cry?
I love a full circle moment, right? Like, so I love when you take somebody that's like in one place and then comes out like on the other side, but better, and I don't mean to write like the Pinterest version of like a book, but like I feel like that's kind of what I know how to do. And so like if it connects with you and you cry, like I'm really glad. I hope that was a safe space for a reader, like to feel like they could go through those emotions, and if they did not feel like it was a safe space, my name is Adrienne Young, and please leave your Goodreads review there. Yeah.
Poor Adrienne.
She'll be fine. She's had great reviews.
So in your bio, it says that you're a part-time hair model. Tell me about this.
So I am slightly ridiculous, and
What?
I know what? My hairstylist, like the girl that I would see to do my hair, she's like, I really love your hair. Can I like use you for like my cards? So like, to hand out to people, or like for my website and stuff. And I was like, sure. And she's like, I'll pay you. And I was like, does that make me a professional hair model? And she goes, I think it does. And I was like, this is going in my bio if I ever sell a book. And you know what? I did. So guess what? It's in my bio.
You didn't only sell one book. You sold 2 books.
I did. I actually sold 4 books because I have 2 more coming out.
Mm-hmm. Have those been announced?
No, they have not. No. Yeah.
Can you say anything about them?
I can say whatever I want.
So tell me about books 3 and 4.
I actually don't know if I'm allowed to, but
ask for forgiveness later?
Yeah, exactly. I sold 2 books, and one of them I don't know what it's about yet, but the first one it's speculative romance, and it's about a girl whose boyfriend dies tragically in the river trying to save her from drowning, and she is like devastated and like just cannot move forward and cannot return back to college or anything. And so she goes home to her grandmother's house and basically says, I don't want to move forward with my life, I want to go backwards. And through a series of like magical events, she ends up waking up on her first day of college, the day she met her boyfriend. But she realizes if she wants to keep her boyfriend safe and not drowned again, that she has to fall in love with his best friend, who hates her guts.
Ooh, drama.
Yeah, lots of drama.
How much fun was it getting to dip into the magical realism?
A lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I like had an anxiety attack. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this, and ended up being really fun and easy. And because I think that we all kind of want to like believe in a little bit of magic every day anyways. Like I want to believe that like I could turn the corner and Jungkook would be there, like.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Is that realistic? Absolutely not. But in my mind, I'm like, that would happen to me. It's magical thinking.
What do you know about writing now that you wish you would have known when you first started?
That is a really good question. I wish I would have known that writing is a business, and that you cannot be precious about it. And although like this is our art, this is also something that like we're so much harder on ourselves than anybody else. Like, you're harder about your art every time than I will ever be about your art. And we get so in our head about our craft when really we end up stopping ourselves from creating art, because it is a business and, you know, nobody waits for you. So that's what I wish I would have known.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I want to ask you, your bias is?
Namjoon and Jimin.
That is a great bias.
As my sister says, the two sides of my personality.
Oh, great. I love that. I love that.
I watched the carpool karaoke when I was first getting into it.
Yeah.
She said, who stood out to you?
And
I was like, the one in English and the one in the red.
Yeah.
And she's like, that makes sense. Those are the halves of your personality.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, RM is he loves to read and he hates seafood and he's very bossy and he breaks stuff accidentally. And then Jimin is super cute and sassy and falls out of chairs.
He really does.
And I fall down a lot. Oops.
And he's the cutest, right? He was like, you Papa Mochi. And I was like, I'm hungry, Papa.
I'm hungry, Papa.
I say that all the time when I'm hungry. I go, I'm hungry, Papa.
Whenever I want mochi, I'm like, Papa Mochi.
Papa Mochi.
We're baby mochi.
Aww.
I need mochi.
We are. That's all we want to do is talk about K-pop. I'm sorry.
It really is.
Yeah.
That was the initial plan, was to do a K-pop panel.
That would have been so
But
great.
the powers that be still have not been convinced that books and K-pop are enough of an overlap.
There is a huge overlap in books and K-pop, right? It's fandom, right? The same things that oh my God, I'm going to go on a rant. I can feel it. Oh no. The same things, the same feelings that we get from books that we love, that we connect with these characters. Those are the same things that K-pop makes us feel, right? Which is the reason that we get into it, because K-pop is not music, right? K-pop is not the singular thing that happens. K-pop is this is a person that you're following, that you're engaged with, that you feel connected to. This is a journey that they go on. You're watching their whole lives. You're watching them perform. You root for them, or you watch how much, they put into their music. It's not just a one thing. They work harder than everybody else. And so we root for them the same way that we root for the good guys in a story, right? So there's so much overlap there. And
Preach it!
The fandoms love each other.
They really are very similar. I saw a TikTok of a girl who was like, the reasons book talk and K-pop talk get along is because we're both obsessed with men that don't know we exist, because sometimes they don't actually exist.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is true. This is 100% true. I'm like, but BTS is real. Everything they do is perfect, and they would never hide themselves from me.
Never.
Never.
We're gonna find them. No, not really. We are not that level of Delulu.
I might be.
Well, since this is literary hype, what books are you hyped about?
Oh my gosh. Okay, like all of the books that I'm hyped about are books that are like not out yet, or
and
not
that's
announced.
okay.
Well, not even announced, right? Like, yeah, like.
So you can't spill other people's tea.
Yes, like I was just talking with somebody who like has a book coming out in the adult genre, and I'm like so excited for that book, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. But I feel like people could probably figure out who that might be. And then Adrienne Young's new novel is going to be amazing. Adeline Grace is working on a new book that I love. My friends, I also am really excited to read Bride.
It's so good.
Yeah, and then I read a book by Regina Black. I'm actually halfway through it right now, and it's called The Art of Scandal, and it's so good. It's probably one of the best romances I've read in a really long time. It's about a politician's wife who, anyways, yeah, it's very good. Check it out.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me about books and K-pop.
Yes,
really, we wanted to talk about K-pop.
K-pop, yes.
It was really just an excuse to talk about K-pop.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Kristin for coming to Emerald City to be part of the panels with me. I greatly appreciate that alone. But then to do an interview as well, to talk The Atlas of Us, was a very special moment. I hope you enjoyed that conversation, because we just became besties during it. So you witnessed a very special moment in both of our lives as we became besties. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit that like button below. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any of these crazy author conversations coming your way. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.